Hello all, welcome to oratornews.com. In this Oracle database programming session, we'll discuss about the bulk concepts. And in the bulk operation concept, we'll discuss about how do we extract the data, as well as how do we perform insertion, updation, as well as deletion using the bulk concept. So let's get into the objective. Yeah. So as I said, we'll try to understand about the bulk operations for the these four things like a CRUD operation, like a create, read, update, as well as delete. Extract. Next, so like when you deal with a huge amount of data, the normal way of reading record by record is not at all an efficient way. Let us say, if you want to read 1 lakh records, and if you just try to iterate each and every record for the purpose of extraction or maybe deletion or updation, that won't work out. I mean to say, like your particular database processing will time out, and obviously, the other end system, which is calling your PLSQL program, will fail it. See, the solution which Oracle provides is like when you are trying to deal with a huge amount of data, nothing but let us say if you're trying to read amount of data, like at least if it is greater than 500 records, better to go with the bulk processing. The normal record by record operation is not at all advisable to use it. Okay, so we have two things. One is bulk collect, and other one is for all. So both are used interchangeably, like for a set of functionality. And when you use a bulk collect, and the bulk collect syntax will be applicable using the select clause, fetch clause, returning clause, deletion, insertion, updation, as well as execute image. Okay, and also similarly for all also will be used when you want to deal with the insertion, updation, as well as deletion. Okay, so each has its own set of functionality. We'll be seeing a couple of samples which involves bulk collect as well as for all. Okay, so let us start with one of the very simple sample. How do we extract data using a bulk collect concept? So we know that to extract the data from database, it is always using a cursor. It can be implicit cursor or explicit cursor. Let us say if your particular cursor which you're using, it is giving around 10,000 records and you want to read the data, or you want to print it, or you want to copy to array. How do you do it? So as of now, our concentration is to only just extract the data, not to copy to some other array, or like a copy to another table kind of thing. We just want to extract the data. Let us say you're you got a data from your particular query, and fetch you want to fetch the data into one of your array variable in a very faster manner. Now in this case, of course, my table may not have the huge amount of data, but the concept will work out with a huge table, with a table which is having huge data. So here what I've done is, in the declared section, I just declared a type array, like a nothing but a nested table concept. Employees underscore t is a type, is a table of emp percentile row type, and this variable l underscore employees, which is of type employees underscore t. Nothing but this l underscore employees will hold n number of employee records. It will hold n number of employee records. And then what we have done, we just simply mention select star bulk collect into l underscore employees. So it is similar to your normal implicit cursor logic, right? So instead of just simple into clause, we also mention bulk collect. That's the extra keyword we have to mention when you want to deal with the bulk collect into. I mean, you want to fetch n number of rows. We know that when you're dealing with implicit cursor, if you just have only into class, you can fetch only one and only one record. But now, as we have used bulk collect, you can fetch n number of records. Okay, and then this l underscore employees will have all the data, and we just printed them using a for loop. Okay, so let us see how this sample works. Now I'll just copy it here. Okay, now just see, got it. So the employee count is 20. And we got all the employee. We just printed them one by one. Okay. So this is how we can perform a bulk collect logic. Let us see other one with a limit functionality. So now here, here, if you observe, in the declared section, what we have done, we just declared a number tab is a table of number, nothing but array of numbers, and we have a cursor which is having employee number, nothing but we just want to fetch all employee numbers and store in the number tab, empid number tab. Okay. Now we have used a different kind of concept here. We have used a explicit cursor, open C1 loop, and here what we have done, wherever you have into clause, if at all if you want to deal with bulk collect, you have to just prefix with the bulk collect. So fetch C1 bulk collect into empid is limit 10. Okay, and after that we just printed the data, right? So now here if you observe, we have the loop operation, right? So we have mentioned we have mentioned fetch bulk collect into EMP IDs limit 10. So what are we trying to do here is, so like let us say your particular this particular cursor which we mentioned, it is giving around 10,000 records. Okay, if you don't mention limit, what will happen is your fetch operation, when you just mention fetch operation with bulk collect, it will fetch 10,000 record at a time. But the memory allocated for your PLSQL program at runtime may not be sufficient to allocate 10,000 records. So that is why we have to limit the fetch operation. I mean to say, like, a fetch operation will fetch all the data, but what you have to do is don't try to fetch all the records. We know that fetch will fetch only one record, but when you use a bulk collect, it will fetch all the records. That's a different story, right? When you use a fetch with bulk collect, it will fetch all the records, but I want to limit to the to a certain number, because I don't want to fetch all the record at a time. So nothing but in in this fashion, what I have done is I mentioned limit 10. So nothing but, even though my particular table is fetching me 1,000 records or 20 records, how many records it can be, it will read only 10 at a time. It will read only 10 at a time. Okay, in ideal case, generally we mention 500. Let us say if you're having uh, again, it depends upon the data. Let us say if your data is so huge, let us say if it is 1 lakh, maybe you can mention 1,000, or maybe you have to deal with your database size and all those things. Based on that, you can mention the appropriate size. Generally, as per my learning experience, I used to mention 500. Okay, now, so what we have done here is in this particular one minute. Yeah, so let me copy and then we can discuss. So I'll just copy this. Okay, so we have number tab, we have explicit cursor, EMP ID is number tab, open C1 loop fetch. We are fetching only 10 records at a time, right? And then we are iterating the information, right? Like for I in, like we are just reading the number of data, like the number of records fetched so far, and we're just reading it, right? Let us execute this one and see how it works. Okay, so we got some issue. Let's see. Okay, I think something cursor. Yeah, this got extra. Okay, yeah. So now here, if you see, okay, we got only this number of records because I have mentioned department is equal to 10, even though my the employee number of the number of records in employee where I think it's more than 20, right? So what I'll do is I'll just remove this where condition, because I mentioned limit 10, right? So it has to fetch two times, right? It has to perform fetch operation two times. Just can you see here, if you observe, results from one bulk collect, results from one bulk collect, nothing but there are two times it bulk collected. Let us see again. What I'll do is this time I'll just clear this one, and here I'll just mention 5. So approximately it has to bulk collect 5 times. Just see, can you see? At a time it is printing only 5 records. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. So we got, it performed the fetch operation 4 times. If it is a normal fetch operation, it would have fetched 20 times. But because of limit 5, it fetched only 4 times. So maybe let us say based on your requirement, you have to change the limit accordingly based on your database size, your data size, all those things, considering those things. So the bulk collect performs bulk extraction from your fetch operation. Okay, so that's how bulk collect works. Now coming to the next sample, bulk collect with return clause. Okay, bulk collect with return calls, with return clause. In some of the scenarios, when you're deleting data, there are chances that like you need to perform huge amount of data deletion, but still you want to audit the deleted records due to a number of reasons. So in this particular sample, what we are trying to do is I'm trying to delete the data from a table, that EMP temp table, and like in the deletion we have a clause called returning clause. Returning clause, what I'm doing is returning EMP number comma e name, bulk collect those particular data into the this temporary variables which I mentioned, enums comma names. Okay, and after that we just printed it. So this example is all about like using a bulk collect, like even though when you're trying to delete the data, using a returning clause you can get the data. And again, we are using bulk collect here. Okay, because when you perform a deletion, there are chances it may delete no records, it may delete only one record, or it may delete n number of records. In the scenario, obviously it will delete n number of records. So if you don't have the bulk collect option, what will happen to the, how can it cache the n number of records, right? That is the reason we have bulk collect concept, which can collect the n number of records into this particular array variable, and you can just simply collect them. Okay. Now let us see this sample also. Yep. So I already have a table called emp temp. Let me show you that also. Okay. Yep. Now here, let us say we want to delete the data from this particular emp temp table and bulk collect, and then printing what records we have deleted. Okay. Just see. Can you see? Here, if you observe, it says 9 records got deleted from the table, and these are the deleted employee numbers as well as employee names. Okay. So I'm rolling back. I don't want to delete the data. If you want to delete the data, you need to make sure that you need to perform the, you need to mention the commit also. Okay. So this is all about, like a bulk collect with a return clause. Okay. Now coming to the other sample. So now using the for all, we'll try to discuss about three things: delete, insert, as well as update. Okay. So far what we have done using a bulk collect, we just extracted, and we have used bulk collect with limit clause, and we have used bulk collect with return clause also. Now the next three samples is all about using for all, using deletion, insertion, as well as update. These particular things seems very simple, but you have to use them appropriately, and this is one of the very important functionality when you are dealing with a huge amount of data. Okay. So in the for all delete, what we are trying to do is just perform deletion using for all. Okay. So we know that like when you are trying to delete and when you want to delete huge number of data, what we generally do is like we use a for loop, and then you try to invoke your delete clause for each by each record fashion. But using the for all, what will happen is your deletion will be done. You don't perform the iteration. It will just get executed only once. Just see this. Now the same concept again. We have a number list. We have like a emp number list, department list, and all those things. And this particular one, what we are trying to do is for all. Okay, for all departments first come last. So what is this list? We have three departments. I just want to delete all the employees from a three departments. Okay, where department number is called department of J, and we are returning those information into this particular thing. We are returning those particular data into, again, like earlier we have discussed, right? Like using the bulk collect return clause. So using for all also, you can get that information. For all, nothing but deletion, right? Like it's not about for all, but I'm what I'm trying to tell you is like this particular returning information, you'll have the deleted records information. Those will be available in the EIDs as well as DIDs. Okay, and then you can print them. Okay. And one more important thing is your for all is ending here itself. Your for all syntax just getting end at this place itself, right? So this is the total stuff. After for all, you don't, here if you observe, there's no loop kind of thing. There's no loop kind of thing. For all, and you have the appropriate insert, delete, or update. That's it. That's the syntax. That's how the syntax works. Just see here. So it deleted 18 records. One, like a few from 10, few from 20, and few from 30. Okay. So this for all is performing the execution of this particular deletion for huge data. Okay. Even though it is iterating, but the iteration will be in a very efficient manner, because here how it is iterating, of course it doesn't have any loop and end loop kind of concept, right? The statement will be executed for these number of times. Like we just have only three records, right? Like we have only 10, 20, 30, and this deletion would have done only three times. Deletion should have been executed only three times, but the execution will be little bit faster compared to normal deletion. Okay. Now we'll discuss about the other one, like a for all insert. So this is also similar one. Just see. So here I have considered different table. Like I have created a data record like for the pivot, and the pivot table, which is holding two particular values with header ID as well as number. And I'm trying to fetch the data from the pivot. Like as of now, I just fetched only 10 records, and then perform the perform the bulk collect into this particular variable v pivot data table variable. And after that, what I'm doing is I just printed. This is just only for information purpose. It's not at all required. It's just information purpose. And after that, I'm performing a bulk like using a for all. I'm doing an insertion. Using the for all, I'm inserting into this particular table. So initially, I already have a data here, but I'll just try to delete them. So let's start from this one. I already have a data. Okay, it's not there. Very good. Now what I'll do is I'll perform the execution now. So what we're trying to do is I just have a query. So now instead of 10, I'll make it 1,000 or 10,000. Yeah, let it be 10,000. So then using the bulk collect, I'm trying to insert triple nine records, right? Sorry, four nines, 9,999. I mentioned 10,000, right? I mentioned 10,000. So it will insert 9,999 records into this particular table using the bulk collect. So what is the difference here? Difference we are following compared to normal for loop concept is you just mention for all, mention the index variable, and then mention the DML operation. That's it. There is no loop and in loop concept here, and you cannot perform any other business logic. Okay, that's it. Let's try. Okay, so we got some issue here. Okay, it could be because of my like okay, it just occurred because of the dbms issue, not about the printing, not about the other issue. So what I can do is better, I'll just comment this out because it is a huge data, right? 10,000 lines, and this particular buffer size may not be available. So I'll just clear that, and also I'll truncate in a pending data. Let's try this time. Okay, can you see? I hope there is no issue, and I hope we should have inserted these number of records here. You can just perform count of star. Can you see? It got inserted within a fraction of a second. That much fast this works. And the last one, updation. So here, like there's a continuation of the same sample. So in this one, I'm just using the same particular table. So in this one, what I'm trying to do is like let us say we already have a for all insertion. So I'll not use this one. Okay, bulk delete insertion. I'll remove it. I'll just perform the update. So what I want to do is I just want to update the P1 number in this particular table with. I just want to give a suffix with a new. I just want to give a suffix with a new. Okay. Okay. Maybe acha. I think let me roll back. I hope we don't have any data now. Yep. Let me re-execute now. Okay. So what it'll do, like it will get the data using the implicit cursor. And here, if you observe, I've not used any limit. So what will happen? There is no loop. So obviously, this 10,000 records, this 10,000 records will be fetched into this table at a stretch, right? There is no limit I mentioned. There is no loop I mentioned. Okay. Now for all, it will bulk collect all the records. For all update, it will perform bulk update. That's it, right? Just execute. Okay. It is taking some time. Yeah, because it has to fetch it, it has to insert it, it has to update, and also it is total 10,000, right? So nothing but 30,000 record operation it has to perform. Okay. Let me cancel it. Okay. I think something would have struck. Let me disconnect. Let me try with a few records. Okay. 1 minute. So this happens generally like when you're dealing with a huge data. That's a common issue. Yeah. So or let me try the toad. Okay. Yeah. It's not showing this window. 1 minute. Yeah. Okay. Right. So okay. So like maybe this did not work properly, right? Let me try again. Yeah. So earlier there were 9 records, now 99, right? So total 108, you got it. So it is working fine. So only thing what we have done is we just used for all, and we have mentioned insertion, and similarly we mentioned updation, and similarly you can mention deletion also. So for all, just make sure that it works with an appropriate array. There is no loop concept here. You cannot mention any loop or in loop kind of thing. Okay. So this is all about like dealing with the bulk. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.